Hello and welcome back to Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's Dumbest Moments of the Week. Well, it's been a real exciting and dumb-filled week for AOC, to say the least, so let's go ahead and jump right into some of her classic bullshit. Today we're going to be focusing on her anti-children rhetoric, so let's start by talking about Alex's interesting live stream, where she pretty much told us that young people shouldn't be having kids these days in America. I guess if you buy into her bullshit about cow farts ending the world in 12 years, then yeah, it makes sense to worry about bringing kids up in a world like that. But really, that's not true, and I suspect there's ulterior motives for Alex here. So without further ado, let's go ahead and take a look at that video in question and see if we can find out what's up here.
Is it okay to still have children? We need a universal sense of urgency. And so it's basically like there's scientific consensus that the lives of children are going to be very difficult. And people are trying to introduce watered down proposals that are frankly going to kill us.
Wow, gotta love the blatant and poorly executed fear-mongering here. It's so awful and terrible, it's actually kind of hilarious. I mean, does it really get more ridiculous than a politician saying, hey, go along with everything I say or you're going to die. Oh, and your kids are going to die and have shitty short lives too. Might as well go full Armageddon and say, a meteorite is going to hit the planet unless you vote for me and do what I say. I'm Alex Cortez. I'm an idiot. This is really how ridiculous Alex sounds with this climate change bullshit too. And did you guys notice how none of this the world is going to end stuff started coming up until recently? Alex never mentioned climate change or a pending apocalypse before, not until she started trying to propose and pass her socialist legislation. Sounds to me like she's only pretending to care about climate change in order to try and make this country socialist and shitty, like where her ancestors come from in South America or Puerto Rico or something. I don't know. She's weird. Really though, this climate change apocalypse stuff is Alex's excuse to pass shitty laws that will raise our taxes immensely. Not to mention, her Green New Deal is filled with social justice bullshit too. What the hell does intersectional feminism have to do with global warming anyway? I don't know, but someone, AOC, she's trying to connect them all together. And this is some real low IQ bullshit too, to say the least.
The way I feel about it is, first and foremost, we have to empower and center the people of Venezuela. This is really an issue of a failure of democracy. And when we see a failure of democracy, like for example in our country,
the United States isn't a democracy, you dum-dum. USA is a constitutional republic. Now some might call that a representative democracy, sure, but I'm so sick of these idiot liberals getting the most basic things like this wrong. Did Alex even pass her 8th grade civics class? Jesus. And she's an elected official in our government too now, but she still doesn't know what kind of government she's working in. Priceless. And I also don't get this bullshit about centering Venezuelans. Centering anyone sounds like SJW stuff to me, for starters. Secondly, while I do pity the poor and dying Venezuelans who are suffering there as their country falls apart, well, at the same time, it was their choices that brought in this socialism and the corruption, and that's what caused all of this mess. And funny enough, this is the same kind of stupid and failing government system AOC wants to bring to the United States with her Green New Deal. The problem is, though, most Americans are smart enough to know that socialism is a lost cause. So that's why AOC has to tie it to this fake impending disaster she created, based on global warming and exaggeration.
And so it's basically like there's scientific consensus that the lives of children are going to be very difficult. And it does lead, I think, young people to have a legitimate question. Is it okay to still have children?
Yes, it's still okay to have children. Obviously that's okay and encouraged even. Since the children are the next generation of this nation. I think Alex may be doing a little projecting here. She's the one thinking she shouldn't have kids because she buys into all this, the world is going to end because of cow farts nonsense. And it also shouldn't be surprising that a pro-abortion Democrat is also anti-children. The liberals are the ones proposing that we kill babies after they're born after all. Sure, you can call that abortion or late termination or whatever you like, whatever euphemism you want to use, but to me and most sane people, I just call that straight up murder. And I wonder who Alex thinks should stop having children anyway, because I have a feeling she wouldn't tell her fellow Hispanics or Latinos to do something like this. Venezuelans are still having children as their country completely collapses. But you don't hear Alex saying, hey, Venezuelans should stop having kids then. Or maybe another group like maybe the black community should stop having kids because they can't afford them. No, Cortez is clearly targeting average Americans. And I would venture to say she's low-key saying white people shouldn't be having kids. Think about it. Alex is pro-immigration, right? She's against building a wall to stop illegal immigration too, so you can easily conclude that she wants more brown or black foreigners in this country. But now she's implying Americans, who are majority white of course, she's saying we shouldn't have kids because of this fake apocalypse she's using to try and fearmonger people into passing her Green New Deal, a socialist program. So essentially, in my opinion, this is a way for Alex to try and change the demographics of America in a very underhanded way, telling the mostly white citizens to not have kids while also importing as many browns and blacks as possible is a pretty clear message. Alex is anti-white, and she's for turning this country into another brown shithole like Venezuela.
And I mean, not just financially, because people are graduating with $20, $30, $100,000 worth of student loan debt, and so they can't even afford to have kids in a house, but also just this basic moral question, like what do we do? And
if you don't want to have kids, just don't have them. No need to spin this into some kind of life or death countrywide decision which everyone else must comply to as well. Sounds to me like Alex is too wrapped up in her own liberal politics and propaganda. That's why she doesn't want to have kids herself, because Democrats are anti-children. They're also pro-abortion, obviously, and even pro-killing babies, as we went over before. Then if you add in all their doom and gloom and the planet's going to end in 12 years nonsense, well, yeah, that's not a conducive mindset to raise a family in, not at all. But just because the left believes this shit doesn't mean we all have to. That's what I don't like. Alex doesn't want to have kids herself, but instead of just doing what she wants to make everyone else do what she wants. Pretty self-centered. Next, let's talk about this college debt stuff she mentioned. Now, while I do feel for people who graduate university with loads of debt, that will be a burden on them, but at the same time, they're the ones who openly entered agreements with loan companies. They signed contracts and deals that said they would take on this debt. No one is forcing anyone to rack up loads of debt for college. So I really don't understand why Democrats think this is such a legitimate argument to make. Might as well say the people in Florida are getting crushed by debt from their car loans, or citizens of Milwaukee are bleeding money paying interest on their gambling debts. Sure, all of these debts are shitty and it sucks to pay them off, but that doesn't mean the government should be intervening and bailing everyone out. You see, there's this thing called personal responsibility, and, well, as much as the Democrats would like to deny it exists, it really does. So if you have student loans weighing you down yourself, while I appreciate and feel for you, I'm not going to go so far as to pay your loans off with my tax dollars. In my opinion, this is just another way for leftists to buy their votes. They know many people are going to college and facing lots of debt, so why not offer them some relief? That's a good way to get their vote, giving them money. Sounds pretty tempting too, but you better realize the government paying off your loans is going to cost you much more in the end, in the long run. To put it simply, don't go to college if you can't afford it. There are plenty of other cheaper, better options than racking up a bunch of debt, like thousands and thousands of dollars. Sure, some situations and certain degrees can pay off later, and you will easily be able to repay your loans after getting hired after graduation, but most won't afford you this. There's a very small amount of degrees that will actually guarantee you work. They're at the tippy top, as AOC would put it. So even if you're going to be a doctor, lawyer, or scientist, even then, you'll still have to network to find yourself a job after your schooling. So there's basically little to no guarantees, so keep that in mind before you agree to a big loan you might not be able to pay off.
And even if you don't have kids, there are still children here in the world, and we have a moral obligation to them, to leave a better world for them. And this idea that if we just, I've been working on this for X amount of years, it's like not good enough. Like we need...
Just look at this comment on the live stream here as I zoom in. Allie Smith says, I'm under 15 and it's scary. I don't know if I'll live to start a family. Jesus Christ. I guess we can see here that AOC's fear-mongering is clearly working. She's scaring underage children into thinking they're going to die in 12 years if they don't follow her rules. Even in her language here, she's trying to stress the supposed urgency of the situation. And this is all for what, really though? Well, it's to pass her bullshit Green New Deal, of course. Which, as I said before, it's really socialism and SJW politics in disguise. Sure, it has some ridiculous plans to try and stop climate change too, but let me put it bluntly here. That shit is not only too wild and out there to work, but also, it won't even stop global warming in the end, if it's done perfectly, which won't happen. Even if the United States was able to completely eliminate its carbon emissions, well, that's only about 15% of the emissions of the world. China is still burning twice as much coal and gas as the United States ever will, and the other 100 or so major countries in the world are also burning plenty of fuel too. too. So to put it briefly, even if we assumed AOC was right about everything, which she's not, but assuming she is, and even if this Green New Deal was able to be fully executed to completely eliminate our emissions, the CO2 coming from all the other countries on the planet would still continue, and the world would still continue to warm as it is currently. So yeah, Alex, I'm not buying your pitch at all, but even if we did assume it was true, your proposed endgame wouldn't work out anyway. So why would we even bother with this socialism bullshit? Well, that's the thing. Just like the fake apocalypse that's being used to sell this deal, so too is the world-saving proposition in it a fake too. And well, that pretty much sums up Alex's cringy live stream. There's one other thing I want to look at though before we go. I found this pretty funny parody of Cortez, coming from a girl on Twitter named Parody. Check this clip out.
That's how babies are, you know? Goo goo gaga, you know? That just means, I want to die, get me out of here, because you all suck. Anyway, just want to tell you that. Tell you how, things like that. Okay, I'm gonna go eat my dinner now. Bye.
Very well done. And not to over-explain the jokes too much here, but first of all, I love the glasses she's wearing in this parody. I always thought the real Alex looked over the top with her glasses too, and these joke ones this girl is wearing are really a good reflection of that. The other thing I noticed after watching this a couple times is how she's cutting up blueberries for no reason. It's just to give her some busy work to do on camera, and to try and make her look hip and relatable. Alex did a similar thing too, of course, in her video, except she was cutting up a mango or something for no reason. And also, it's worth noting she wasn't composting her scraps, by the way. That's where you don't put your food scraps in the garbage and instead bury them out in your backyard or something. It's actually environmentally safer. And well, if Alex really wanted to save the world and be less impactful on the environment, reducing your trash by composting is a pretty easy and big step to do, but she doesn't bother. And we already know Alex doesn't practice what she preaches too, since she's also admitted to spending thousands of dollars on Uber rides and plane tickets and air conditioning, and she always uses plastic bags at the supermarket too. Not that I would care about this normally either, but since Alex is the one trying to tell everyone else to change their whole lifestyle, you'd think she would at least try and change hers first too, but I guess not. Last thing before we go, here's a tweet where Alex even tries to justify this being green hypocrisy, saying she's just living in the world the way it is, whatever that means. Call me old-fashioned, but if I hear someone telling me I can't drive cars anymore, yeah, I would expect them to do the same thing. Makes perfect sense really, but as we've seen over the years, the mental gymnastic abilities of liberals is simply outstanding. What do you guys think? Should Americans still be having kids? Is Alex projecting her own insecurities onto us? And what do you think about her Green New Deal? Will it even help with the world's problem of climate change in the end? And do you think Alex should practice what she preaches first before trying to tell all of us what to do about the environment? Comment your thoughts on everything below, and thanks for watching No Bullshit. Hit that like button if you enjoyed this video, and we'll see y'all next time.